Guys, yeah, renovations are not easy. Yeah, I have now renovated 2 houses successfully, thank God. And it is actually long. Like, don't get it twisted. Do not think that because you see me smiling on each video, listen, I'm crying behind the camera. I kid you not. Like, it is so much stress and it's so much headache. So if you're going through the process and you're struggling, guys, it is completely normal. Like, everyone goes through that process as well. I did my first house and I did a lick of paint, some new carpet, some garden, and I thought, oh yeah, look at me, I'm DIY max. Like, listen, guys, this house was a rude awakening. Yeah, the amount of money, blood, actual blood, sweat and tears have gone into this property it's unfathomable. So let me tell you for free, yeah guys, in this video I'm going to be so transparent with the mistakes I've made, mistakes that I know people have made throughout this process as well, and just know that, listen guys, these are going to be some real gems for you. So yeah, I don't want to waste any time or do one mad flamboyant intro. Like, these things, they're not always sexy, but they're necessary and we need to talk about them. So if you're looking to renovate your house, if you're renovating your house at the moment, or you're just interested in property renovations as a whole, this video is for you. So the first thing is money. Guys, have a budget, yeah? And try as hard as possible to stick to that budget. And in my opinion, have a contingency, 10 to 20%. For example, if your budget's 30K, have 33 to 36K saved up already. So an extra 3 or 6K, because things always go wrong. Like, it's just part of the process, you know what I'm saying? If you're looking to renovate your bathroom, for instance, you might knock down your old tiles, take out your old toilet and realize there's mold there. You're not going to put a new bathroom where there used to be mold on. You need to treat that mold and you need to do things properly. The worst thing you can do is that be in a position where you have to make changes which will structurally help your property, but you don't have the funds to do it, so you're cutting corners, right? If you're going to be living there for the long term, if you're going to be living there with your family, or even if you're buying a property as a buy-to-let investor, you want to make sure that your tenants are living in a house that's good enough, that you don't want to be cutting corners and then you're risking their life as well. Don't get it twisted. My contingency went in like 2 or 3 weeks. Like, whatever I thought the budget was, I was not realistic. And this goes into my next point about money, is that try and be realistic with quotes as well. Get quotes from people and just understand how much the work will actually cost. For example, this wall behind me, yeah? It actually was a brick wall, but I had to create a fake wall, so a plasterboard wall in front of it, because it had so much damp. If you've been watching me throughout the renovation process, you remember that this is my office. And when I was painting up this room, I kept on painting the walls and I realized that water kept on coming through. I realized later that there was a hole in the roof, that water was going through, like, I think the bad guttering, and that's what caused the problem. Even though I fixed the issue of where the damp was coming from, there was still water and moisture in the walls. I used dehumidifiers, I heated up the walls, and nothing was working. It was still there. So it's either I could take a chance and say, do you know what? I think I've taken out all the moisture, or build a fake wall in front of it. I ended up doing that. And I thought, okay, cool, £200 to £300, which is what I was told initially. Guys, it cost me £2,000. I look at the wall and I'm thinking, where's the £2,000? Like, even me, like, I was so like shell shocked. And at first I wasn't going to do it. I'll be completely transparent with you, because when you're setting a budget, who thinks £2,000 to build out a wall? Do you know what I'm saying? And I know a lot of people are going to be like, oh, you got bumps, X, Y, and Z. But even if that's the case, yeah, are you going to risk it? This is why I said that you should always have a contingency, because that's part of where my contingency went on fixing stuff like damp and problems. And especially when you're renovating older properties, there are always going to be issues. So guys, please, if you're renovating, have a contingency plan, 10 to 20% extra, and never cheap out on things that can keep you safe. So the second thing is that plans change. Yeah, and guys, that is completely normal. Sometimes you think you want something and it may be the cost. It may be that your circumstance that has changed in that particular time. It is okay to have a change in plan or for things to change. In my case, it wasn't as okay because I lost a lot of money changing my plans, but it worked out in the greater good. For example, as you may know, I want to do a loft conversion and an extension to the house as well. And so I successfully did the loft conversion, but I didn't do the extension. And the reason why is because when I calculated the cost of how much things were gonna be, I calculated the cost for the whole fit out. So I was told that it would be around 50 to 60K. That was just for the shell and the fittings. That didn't include anything else. And I was like, oh, I haven't even done the extension yet. So I realized that the cost of the loft itself was the price that I had for both of them. So it wasn't realistic. So I had to rejig the downstairs, and this is where a lot of the extra cost came in, and it cost me probably an extra £10,000 to do that rejig of the ground floor. Another thing that happened for me was that the chimney breast, when I first was in my house, I was like, yeah, there's no chance I'm going to do the chimney breast, because the cost of removing chimney breast are usually so expensive. And I was like, yeah, I'm not going to do it. When I realized how much more space I would get, like I had just a weird house that there was chimneys in almost every room. I had a chimney in the loft, I had a chimney in the 2 rooms on the first floor, and I had a chimney on the ground floor. Like, it's enough. Like, do you know what I'm saying? The chimney literally went through every room. So I was like, yeah, just remove it. That comes with extra cost because now you're removing it. There's so many things that you have to consider, and it's just so expensive. So plans will always change as things go along, and this is why it really ties into having a clear budget in mind. Another thing I did is that, okay, I was so convinced that my plan was that I'm gonna have double doors in my kitchen/living room. I told Tom to basically knock down another door basically in my living room going into my kitchen to make the doors bigger. And then literally 2 weeks later, I told him, yeah, you have to board it back up. I don't want it anymore. I'm changing the plan. That cost me £600. If I had enough time and I was going through these things properly, I would have been able to understand fully what this kind of entailed and the renovation project. So there was a lot of mistakes that I made along the way. And there's a lot of things that I could have saved money on that I probably didn't. So just letting you know that this is me being fully transparent and being honest with you. Like, it wasn't smooth sailing. And a lot of the times I was quite frustrated and down with some of the decisions I made, and wish that if I saw it in hindsight, I would have been able to save myself a lot more money as well. The third thing, and I think this was my biggest mistake, is plan with enough time. I don't think I gave myself nowhere near enough time to properly renovate a house to the standard I wanted it to be. I was constantly under time pressure from the builders, from my own self as well, to get things done, and you realize that things take time. For example, addressing damp is not going to be a one-day thing. It's going to take a few weeks, if not months as well. And sometimes it's frustrating, and you need to make sure that you give yourself enough time to do things properly. Otherwise, things will be rushed and you cut corners. I was privileged that I had 2 properties, right? So a lot of the time, when there were delays or knockbacks, I could just go to my other house and just say, oh yeah, I can see the house across the road, whatever happens there. But I'm not working in a campsite, or I'm not working in a construction site rather. That's not the same privilege that everyone else has. So if you're working in a house, for example, and you're renovating your bathroom, and that's the only bathroom you have in your main, like, are you gonna shower in the local swimming pool? Like, how are you gonna do it? Like, you need to think about these things and plan properly. If, for example, if your kitchen's being renovated, is it pot noodles for our Indomie? Like, is that what you're eating? So if that's the case, then make sure that you have that in mind already, and you've already planned for that with enough time in advance as well. I just didn't really consider the ramifications of how much things can delay and drag on if not done properly as well, especially when you're on 2 minds about decisions and you're constantly changing your mind. So have enough time to change your mind and make decisions, but also give yourself deadlines to meet. But these are the things that you have to consider, especially when it comes to time and managing your time properly with tradesmen, because your work and your job is not the most important thing to them as well. They've got like sometimes 6 or 7 jobs they're managing at the same time. So they may only have your time or be available for 2 days of the week. If you miss your 2 days, then it's next week, and then it's the following week as well. So just remember that as well when you're going through that process. So the fourth thing, and I think this is where I get a lot of questions from, especially on TikTok, is like, how do you know you've picked the right tradesman, the right contractors? It could be so difficult. And before I even go into this, guys, make sure that you are very certain of your plan of what you want to do, because if they smell that you are weak or you do not know what you want to do, they will amp up the price. They will tell you that you need to do things that you don't need to do, especially if you have them cowboys or people that's like, they just want your money. At the end of the day, they're doing a job, right? And it's hard to, with like a normal like 9 to 5, or like you're going into Tesco, you're buying milk. Milk is a certain price, right? You can compare in Asda, you can compare in Aldi. Tradesmen don't have a list of prices to say, oh yeah, my work is going to be like, it's always dependent on the job. It's very subjective. And with that, there comes a lot of, like, in my opinion, just like people taking advantage of people that are quite vulnerable. I don't really understand the process very well, and they're charging a lot of money for things that don't require that much time and money. I experienced it as well. What I'd always recommend for tradesmen is always try and get free quotes from anything you're doing. If it's your garden, if it's your roof, if it's your house, whatever it is, get free quotes and then look at them differently. What are they offering? How do they talk about their work? Are they passionate? What work have they done before? The websites that I use usually when I'm trying to look for contractors are My Builder, Rated People, Check a Trade, Facebook Market are the 4 areas that I look at when I'm looking at websites. And areas that I don't know or places that I'm not familiar with, that's where I get a real gauge of people's work. What you can do is just submit what you want to do, take pictures of your house, and people will quote your work. And you can start to ping people, the top 3. I said, you know what, can you come over, give me a quote, look at the property, X, Y, and Z. So that's quite good. However, the best way, the absolute best way is by recommendation. And people will only recommend contractors and tradesmen that did a good job, right? They will never recommend someone that didn't. So you know that you're safe there. if you don't know people in the area and you've got neighbors, knock on neighbors' doors and ask them. That's exactly what I did. So how I found Tom, who was the main, I'll say the lead contractor that did most of the work in my house, was that I realized that our house a few doors down was doing a massive loft conversion. I was like, right, this looks so good. I knocked on the door and said, by the way, did you like the loft conversion? How did you find it? X, Y, and Z. And they're like, yeah, this is the person that did it. And this was the architect that did it. Got the architect came over, he drew some plans, spoke to the build, and the rest was history, because I already knew that it was good. Granted that Tom was not cheap, by the way. Oh, he was not the cheapest. He was actually 10k more than the cheapest quote that I received. However, I'd already seen his work, so I knew that he was good and my house wasn't going to collapse on me. So I kind of had that reassurance. So if you're in a new area, speak to your neighbors. Try and knock on people's doors that have done work in the past. For example, if it's a driveway and you like it, just knock who done it. Because that's the best way to get honest and genuine people. Because I've been stung both sides as well. I've got people on Facebook Market that haven't been great. I've got people on Facebook Market that have been amazing as well. What I will say is that if your tradesman that you've used, that you trust, for example, Tom, he may recommend an electrician to me, a plumber to me, a whatever it is to me. Always consider those people first. You may not use them. Some people you recommended I didn't use because I didn't like their demeanor and the way they kind of handled business. But some of them I use and I will continually use. So if you're in a new area and you're not familiar with these things as well, always speak to the people that you can trust and go from there. It helps so much. In regards to Facebook groups, make sure you join all your groups, like these local like home groups as well, because first off, like, it's actually quite good. I can't even lie to you. If I wanted to find someone quickly and I'd put something in a Facebook group today, in like 2 days, if I say 2 days, in 2 hours, that people already saying, okay, mate, can I come in at blah, 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 and I'm already getting quotes. You know what I'm saying? Even if you're not going to use them, you have an idea of how much it's going to cost, what people are going to do, and you start to kind of already get the ball rolling as well. So guys, if you haven't already, maximize Facebook groups. They are so good and they're a great tool. I use them every single time. So I'm not gonna lie to you, I think Facebook groups are probably my first go-to. I will always recommend, if you can, look at your Facebook groups, just join the community and just be active in it as well, because sometimes you can really build a good network on Facebook, and yeah, it can help you going forward. And the last thing I think that you need to really consider, or the last mistake, is definitely understanding the difference between what you can do and what professionals do, right? The DIY and the professional job, it is completely different, guys. It's night and day. There are some people that are amazing, like shout out to like one of my favorite YouTubers, Shade Shannon. I love her. She's amazing and she's a queen of DIY. Like, you look at her, she's small but she's mighty. Like, she is so good. And you look at myself now and I was so gassed about setting up a washing machine. Listen guys, like, when I looked at the painting that my painter did on this property and the painting I did on my old property, night and day, it's complete. They are professionals for a reason. I'm a business analyst by day, right? I'm not gonna expect me to now be able to like cut corners properly or do, listen, I am not that guy. Let me be honest with you. I will do it, don't get twisted, especially to save money. But there's certain jobs that you have to get a professional. I've seen people, guys, try to do electrics themselves. Are you trying to kill yourself? You know what I'm saying? Or probably like, I'm not, guys, pay for the professionals. And it may seem silly, but especially when you're looking at the detail or the final finish, you will know, right? People may not notice, you may get away with, but you will know. And for me, it was just like, there were certain things that I was not willing to compromise on. What I'd always say is that understand what your parameters are and how far you can go, right? So if you're doing some DIY projects, it's always good, right? I think it's actually good for you to have at least 1 or 2 projects that you can do yourself. It kind of gives you that sense of like belonging. You've done it yourself. Oh yeah, I did that. You know what I'm saying? But also remember that leave the professionals or the professional work to the professionals, because also professionals have recommendations. They will recommend things to you that you may not consider. I was like, oh, I never thought about that. The small little stuff that you will not consider, they see it. They work on it all the time. So I'd always say, guys, if you can, use professionals. And a prime example is that sometimes you may not always be on the ground, but a professional knows their stuff. They know their trade. So if you can use a professional, it helps so much. And I say that all to say that, guys, that's the end. Those are the 5 things. If I've glossed over anything or I haven't really explained anything properly, please comment below. I really want to help people. I really want people to be able to kind of get into their renovation bag. I understand that it's difficult, man. This cost of living is long and life is long, and I've made a lot of mistakes, so hopefully you guys don't have to. But luckily I'm still here, I'm still making videos, and I just want to say thank you. The project is not completely finished, but it's on its way there. Full house tour coming soon, guys, coming soon. The house is unbelievable. I'm already thinking about the future project, the future plan. I'm just not content. I'm never satisfied. I don't understand why, But generally, yeah, I'm just so happy with the way things turned out. This house is my dream. I'm absolutely loving it. I'm relishing in it. So I just want to say thank you again for staying tuned to the video. I hope this was useful. If you like this style, let me know as well. And yeah, man, catch you in a bit. Peace.